This is HTML lesson number 74. In this lesson, I will show you how to add a shadow to your text. Let's just get started, shall we? Oops. Whoopsie. Here's your clue. Okay. And now, we will add this. What is that? Leave a comment down here in the comments below, telling me what that is. And you should know what that is. All right. I think you figured this part out by now. I'm going to aim the camera a little bit lower, like that. Okay. Okay. Now then, when adding a text shadow, you will add 4 parameters to your declaration. Okay, this is your declaration here. We're going to add 4 parameters. What are those parameters? First of all, you're going to add a horizontal parameter. Now, you say, okay, when you add the horizontal parameter, what happens? Well, if the number is positive, the shadow will move towards the right. If the number is negative, the shadow will move towards the left. Okay? The vertical parameter. What happens when you do this? If the number is positive, the shadow will move down. If the number is negative, the shadow will move up. Okay? All right. Now this next parameter is a blurring parameter. Okay, I know that has an official name, but the best way for you to remember it is a blurring. And you'll see this when I show this to you. Okay, the bigger this number is, the less readable that shadow will be. Okay, and that's why it's there. Now, the final parameter is a color one. And you have to decide what color you want your shadow to be. Okay? And there are official colors. There's like 140 official colors you can put on this thing. But you can actually choose various shades using hexadecimal numbers. And we'll get into that in a later lesson. But that's the important part, is you have to make sure that you tell the computer what color you want your shadow to be. You can have it black, you can have it white. If you have it white and you have a white web page, you'll never see it. But you can have it black, you can have it white, you can have it yellow, you can have it gray. I've chosen crimson for this particular example. It shows up pretty good when you use crimson, especially since our text itself is going to be black. So you'll kind of like that. Anyway. Now then, okay, the best way to show you how this text shadow works is to use a heading, and that's what we're going to do. it's always a good idea to include your opening and closing tags, okay? Like your heading tags. You have your opening and closing tags. Include them before you put attributes in your tags. That way you know you have not forgotten your opening and closing heading tags or whatever tags you want to use. Okay? So before you add an attribute to a tag, make sure you have already on your screen the opening and closing tags, because if you don't, it'll screw up your web page real fast. Okay, so okay. Alright, now I'm going to show you this down here. Hang in there. We have our opening heading tag, and it's between our body tags right here. It says ID equals my heading. This is my heading right across here. And you have your closing H1 tag, which is your closing heading tag right there. Okay. Alright. And now that we have this project all set up, what we're going to do is we're going to hit File, Save As. And now we're going to type in text shadow, but we're going to have an underscore between the words text and shadow. So it's going to be called, real close here, textshadow.html. And now we're going to save it. And now we're going to open up My Documents. We're going to open up HTML Student. We're going to go down here to Text Shadow. And then we're going to get this out of the way. And there it is. There's your shadow. Okay. Now then, you say, well, that shadow is pretty readable. Don't you agree that that shadow is pretty readable? Well, why don't we fix that? Okay. Let's go back to our code. Let's go over here. Remember, this is our blur effect here. Let's type in 10. Okay. Now, watch carefully. Can you read it now? Not really. Now you say, now you said that those numbers move it up and down and left and right. Well, let's move it around a little bit. Let's have a negative right here. Okay, we have a negative right there. Let's go ahead and save it. And now, look at that. That just moved our text shadow from right to left. So now it's on the left-hand side of the screen instead of the right. Okay. Now you say, well, this other one's supposed to move it up and down. Well, let's put a -7 right here. We'll just put a negative sign right there. I'm going to save it. Now watch what happens. Wow, there you go. There's your shadow. Okay. Is that giving you some brilliant ideas yet? It should. We'll be covering more interesting stuff in a future lesson, so I want you to stay tuned.